After 5 years of humiliation, an unexpected proposal reveals a heartwarming transformation. The diner in Maplewood thrummed with laughter and the scent of warm apple pie. Sarah, the 29-year-old waitress, watched as families animatedly gathered around tables, their camaraderie a stark contrast to her own 5 years of judgment and disappointment. Her classmates, those glittering successes, leaned into the raves of their fortunes, forever casting shadows over her humble existence. They didn't know the weight of her heart, the aching love she nurtured for her ailing mother, who refused to let the struggle break their bond. At night, in the quiet of their small home, Sarah often clutched her mother's hand, promising to dream bigger, even when those dreams felt squished under the heroes of high school fame. And then came Jake. Her past. The young man she once loved more fiercely than anything, a stark contrast to the man he'd become. When he walked into the diner, laughter rolled through the crowd like thunder. His successful banker's smile could light up shadows. But there, on his finger, was a shimmering engagement ring that buried her heart under fresh layers of hurt. Whispers floated through the air like autumn leaves, the town buzzing with fresh gossip. Sarah found herself wrestling with the ghosts of her unrealized dreams, overshadowed by the glamorous presence of Emmy, Jake's stunning fiancée. One quiet evening, the neon lights flickered, glossing over the surrounding tables, adding a touch of magic to their reunion. Jake approached Sarah, his nervousness apparent. "Can we talk?" he asked, glancing around, perhaps feeling the weight of the town's scrutiny. When he dropped to one knee, proposing with words that should have sparkled with romantic magic, Sarah's breath caught. It should have been happiness, but instead, her heart screamed for more. More than the life he offered. Would she trade her dreams for what the world considered success? As she turned him down, an unexpected fire sparked in her. The comfort of stagnation melted away, revealing paths anew. Days turned into weeks, and with the mentorship of a kind-hearted Vietnam veteran, she committed herself to her studies and community service. Each shift at the diner transformed into an opportunity, fueling a fierce determination to rise above her reality. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night of the local charity event approached, a flood of nerves coursing through Sarah as she prepared to unveil her health initiatives for the underserved. Standing in front of familiar faces, the ones who had once doubted her, she felt her heart pound. The audience shifted, and her voice broke the silence, raw and resolute. As the cheers rose and sank, she spotted Jake in the crowd, his expression softening, acknowledging the journey she'd taken. Was it possible he saw her anew, not just as the waitress who served him pie but as the woman she had become? But as the night hummed with unresolved emotions, a realization washed over her. Had she grown too far to look back at her past love? The night shimmered with unanswered questions, leaving Sarah at a crossroads, the echo of possibilities swirling in the air. As the event came to a close, the applause lingered in Sarah's ears, a beautiful echo that contrasted the storms brewing inside her heart. She stepped off the stage, her hands still trembling, but now not just from nerves. There was a thrill coursing through her, a pulse of unfamiliar energy fueled by newfound courage. Jake approached her, that warm smile still lighting up his face, but now it felt different, almost like he was stepping into her world instead of towering over it. "You were amazing," he said, genuine admiration painted across his features. "I didn't know you had it in you." His words burrowed into her chest, igniting a mix of pride and reminders of their past. "Thanks, Jake," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I've had a lot of time to think and grow." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the noise of the event faded, reduced to a quiet hum. She felt the weight of all the years adeptly balancing on the edge of this one moment. But part of her still hesitated. Could she trust the man who once brought her so much pain? Had too much time passed for something to rekindle, or was this simply an illusion she had constructed in desperation? In the ensuing silence, an older couple approached to congratulate her, forcing Sarah and Jake back into the bustle of the charity event. They smiled politely, but the connection between Sarah and Jake lingered like a thread unraveling into the air. As the night wore on, Sarah's mind drifted toward her mother. She missed the comfort of their late-night talks, the way her mom always believed there was strength in vulnerability. Perhaps now, as she stepped into this new chapter, it was worth celebrating how far she had come. But back then, the thought of Jake had always caused chaos. "Do you want to grab coffee later?" he asked as the couple departed, his voice soft, laced with uncertainty as if he feared rejection. "I'd love to catch up, really talk." Sarah hesitated, feeling a rush of emotions. I don't know, Jake. It's been so long." He nodded, eyes sincere yet searching, desperately trying to peel through the layers she'd built. "I understand. Just think about it, okay?" And just like that, the conversation shifted, morphing into a dance of hopes and fears. She couldn't help but think, had she really transformed, or was she still under the spell of the past? Slipping back to what was familiar felt tempting, but the idea of venturing into an unknown future with a man who once broke her heart terrified her. Departing the event, the chill of the night air wrapped around her like a blanket, intertwining with her swirling thoughts. Walking home, she mulled over Jake's suggestion, weighing memories against her current reality. Could everything truly be different now? Days turned into a whirlwind as Sarah navigated the ups and downs of her new path, focusing on her projects and studies. And yet, the question of coffee lingered, like a weight upon her heart. Was she ready for the possibility of connection? Her gut churned as the clock ticked closer to the moment she had promised herself she would respond to Jake. Just as she typed a message, the phone chimed, his name lighting up the screen. With her heart racing, Sarah read the text, but it wasn't just an invitation. It was a plea. "I know I hurt you. But I hope you can see the person I've become, too. Let us talk." And as she stared at the screen, a decision loomed, a choice between the ghosts of yesterday and the promise of what could be. What if this was the moment where everything tilted into focus? But what if her past, lurking in the shadows, was too heavy to shed? The weight of her choice felt heavier than ever, leaving her breathless, waiting for the dawn of clarity to illuminate her next move. Would she risk it all to find out? Sarah stood still, her heart pounding against her ribcage as she reread Jake's message. The words swirled in her mind, trying to break free of the past that clung to her like an unwelcome shadow. How did he think he could erase what had happened between them with merely a text? But a part of her, the part that had dared to step onto that stage earlier, craved release. She tossed her phone onto the couch and paced the small apartment, its walls feeling more confining than usual. The echoes of laughter from the event replayed in her mind, but another sound was louder, the murmurs of doubt and indecision. What was this tenderness growing inside her? Was it forgiveness or foolishness? The next morning, Sarah woke up to sunlight streaming through her windows, illuminating the dust particles dancing in the air. Perhaps it was time to let the light in. Her mind flickered to her mother's gentle reassurances, "You can only grow from what you faced." With a deep breath, Sarah picked up her phone again. What surprised her was the speed at which her fingers glided over the screen, crafting her response without hesitation. "I'm open to meeting. Let us get that coffee." The moment she hit send was exhilarating, yet fear crept in. What would they talk about? Would old wounds reopen? Time crawled as she waited for a response. When Jake replied, confirming a time and place, a weight lifted. She felt a rush of nerves too, an unexpected jolt of excitement that sent butterflies swirling in her stomach. The next day spilled into a hazy afternoon, and as Sarah dressed, her heart pounded. She chose a light blue dress, something flattering yet comfortable. She needed the courage that her past self had lacked. Facing Jake again was like standing at the edge of a cliff, with uncertainty below her and hope above. Arriving at the cafe, she caught a glimpse of him through the window. He was leaning against the counter, his hands wrapped around a coffee cup, a light smile playing across his lips as if he were anticipating her arrival. Unexpected warmth coursed through her veins. "Hey," he said softly as she walked in, genuine delight lighting up his hazel eyes. "Hi," she managed, her voice steadier than she expected. They chose a corner table, the air buzzing around them, filled with the scent of roasted coffee and fresh pastries. It was a world that felt so different, yet so familiar. "So how have you been?" Jake asked, leaning forward a bit, something vulnerable in his gaze. Sarah laughed lightly, trying to ease the tension. "Busy. Just like old times." Jake grinned, but the look lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the past still wrapping around them. As they spoke, Sarah revealed bits about herself, her new job, her passion for painting, how her mother had always been her guiding star. She could see Jake drinking it all in, the warmth in his expression deepening as he shared stories about his life, his struggles and triumphs, how he had fought to become his own person, distinct from the shadow of who he was. With each moment, the atmosphere thickened with the weight of their shared history. She noticed tiny changes in his body language. He listened intently, his posture open as if he was inviting her into his heart. Before she realized it, Sarah found herself laughing, sparks of connection igniting like dry leaves catching fire. But just as the walls between them began to melt away, uncertainty began to rise like a tide. Could this truly be the start of something new? Or was this just a momentary reprieve, a tiny flicker before the storm? "Sarah," he said earnestly, steadying his gaze on her, "I never wanted to hurt you. I wished I could take it all back. I've spent so much time trying to figure out who I am, who I want to be. And what I want is to explore this connection." Her breath caught. His honesty cracked open the door to so many unsaid things, but it also carried risk. What if she opened her heart again only to find it was still broken? Time froze as she searched his eyes, one question stealing her breath. "Are we ready for this?" As the tension hung in the air, the answer felt just out of reach, wrapped up in the promise of their uncertain future. The tension hung thick between them, silence almost palpable. Sarah felt her heart hammering, her mind racing with possibilities. "I can't pretend it doesn't matter," she said finally, her voice barely a whisper. "What happened? It hurt me deeply, Jake." His expression tightened, eyes searching hers. "I get that. I really do. I've replayed that moment so many times, wishing I could change it. But I want to show you I've changed. I've learned." The vulnerability in his voice made her heart ache. Here was the boy she once loved, now a man craving understanding. "But what if you haven tea?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What if I let you back in and it all happens again?" Jake's shoulders sagged as he leaned back, visibly processing her words. "I want to be that guy again. I promise. I've realized life is too short for regrets. I want to build something real with you, not the mess we had before." As if motivated by a force beyond her control, Sarah felt a surge of longing mixed with fear. Could she do this? Could she let herself be vulnerable again? The memory of her heart breaking was still fresh, like an open wound. Just then, the barista called out her name, momentarily breaking the spell. Jake smiled slightly as she retrieved her drink, the steam curling up around her like a protective shroud. She returned to the table, the warm cup in her hands feeling grounding. "Listen," he said, breaking the silence again. "Maybe we don't need to have all the answers right now. Why don't we take this one step at a time? No pressure, just," he hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Just us seeing if what we once had can grow into something better." "I don't know if I can just jump into us again," she replied hesitantly. "Then don't jump. Just dip your toes in. Let us explore where we stand now." His eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and sincerity, like he was offering her a lifeline. "Let's just be friends at first, if that's all you can manage." I'm fine with taking baby steps as long as they're in the right direction. The notion felt appealing, almost sweet. For the first time since receiving his text, Sarah considered that maybe, just maybe, a friendship could restore the pieces of their past without dredging up old pain. Their conversation shifted, becoming lighter as they ventured into stories about ridiculous high school moments and shared late-night snacks from the little diner down the street. Laughter flowed more freely now, each chuckle tightening the thread connecting them. But as she watched him, Sarah couldn't shake the lingering question. Were they truly mending or merely masking broken hearts? As they finished their drinks, Sarah felt a pang of nervousness at the thought of saying goodbye. So, what happens now? She asked, her voice tentative. Jake's eyes were earnest as he replied, let us not leave it too long before we meet again. I'd really like to show you what I've learned, what I've become. Just say when. A thread of warmth spread through her at the thought, but with it came fear. What if tomorrow, next week, next month put her back in the same place, in that lonely darkness once more? Okay, she breathed out, forcing a smile to hide her worries. Let us see where this goes. As they parted, a mix of optimism and anxiety danced within her. It felt like standing on the edge of a bridge, ready to dive into unknown waters. But as soon as she stepped outside, her phone buzzed in her purse. Fumbling, she pulled it out and glanced at the new message lighting the screen. Her heart sank when she saw it was from her brother. His words were quick, urgent. We need to talk. Something has happened. Call me. As her anxiety spiked, Sarah's mind raced. She couldn't help but wonder, would the unfolding drama ahead pull her back into the darkness she sought to leave behind? Sarah sank against the wall of the cafe, heart pounding and breath hitching in her throat. The warmth she felt moments ago seemed to drain away, replaced by a chill that crept in as she reread her brother's message. Something happened. She couldn't shake the dread curling inside her chest. What is going on? She muttered to herself, shoving her phone back into her purse. The laughter she shared with Jake echoed faintly in her mind, a stark contrast to the urgency tearing at her now. She took a few deep breaths, trying to steady her racing heart, but it was no use. Anxiety wrapped around her like a vice. She stepped into the sunlight, the bright day almost mocking her swirling thoughts. Sarah knew she had to call her brother immediately, but a part of her wanted to escape, to run back inside and secure herself in laughter and familiarity with Jake. But that was the old Sarah, the one who hid behind joy while ignoring pain. She straightened her spine, attempting to summon some strength. As she walked to her car, her mind was consumed by possibilities. Was her mom okay? Was there trouble at home? But the deeper fear lurked beneath the surface. What if it meant returning to the chaos she thought she had escaped? She took a shaky breath and sat in her car, clutching the steering wheel tightly. She pressed her brother's number, hardly waiting for him to pick up. Hey, what's wrong? She blurted out when he answered. Sarah, I didn't want to freak you out, but you need to come home. It's Dad. He's had an accident. The world narrowed down to those words, a crushing weight that stole her breath. Moments blurred together as the reality sank in. Her father, always so strong and dependable, was vulnerable now. What happened? Is he going to be okay? Questions spilled from her lips, the urgency in her voice visible even through the phone. I don't know anything more yet. I just got the call, and they're taking him to the hospital. I thought you should be here. A voice in her head screamed to act, but her body felt frozen. She thought of Jake, his sincerity, and the new path they had begun to tread. That hope felt like a fragile bubble now, easily burst by the sharp reality of her family's turmoil. I'm on my way, she said, cutting off her emotional turmoil as best she could. As she drove, she wrestled with the mix of fear and doubt. How could she take the steps forward with Jake if she might plunge right back into the mess she escaped from? What if her family needed her fully, and the budding relationship started with Jake just crumbled under the weight of responsibility? With each mile, she felt the pull of home, memories flooding back, joyful ones and painful ones. She had chosen to leave, yet here she was, being called back into chaos. Pulling into the hospital parking lot felt surreal. The atmosphere buzzed with urgency and hushed whispers, stinging her heart with anxiety. As she pushed through the doors, her brother was waiting, his face tight with worry. "Let us go to Dad," he said, leading her down the stark, sterile hall. Sarah's stomach twisted as they approached the waiting room, where other family members were gathered, their faces revealing a mosaic of concern. Then she saw her mom, eyes red and swollen. She was trying to hold it together, but Sarah could see it was only a facade. The old wounds of neglect and heartbreak threatened to rise up within Sarah, but she quelled that instinct. Right now, they were all in this together. But just as she stepped into her family's circle, her phone buzzed again. A new message lit the screen, and Sarah's heart raced again as she saw it was Jake. "Just checking in. I hope everything's okay. I'm here if you need me." The warmth from his words collided with the coldness of the hospital atmosphere, leaving Sarah reeling. Rather than reassurance, his text was a reminder of the emotional balance she stood on. Could she lean on him now? Or would she push him away, fearing the weight of both her family's troubles and her own vulnerability? Standing there, caught between two worlds, Sarah felt the pressure of choices pressing down hard. How could she navigate what was falling apart and what was trying to blossom anew? As she scanned the room, her mother's gaze found hers, filled with unspoken questions and a plea for solidarity. But in the back of her mind, Jake's message lingered, "I'm here if you need me." Was she ready to reach out when every part of her felt pulled apart? The waiting room felt heavy with unspoken fears and the quiet sound of hope being held in abeyance. Sarah could see the worry etched deep into her mother's features, lines that spoke of sleepless nights and unanswered prayers. It tightened her throat. How could she bring herself to lean on Jake when the weight of her family's crisis seemed to eclipse everything else? "Sarah," her brother called softly, pulling her from her thoughts. He stood by the door leading to the examination rooms, his face pale and anxious. "Come on, let us go find out what is going on." Nodding, she stepped forward, her heart thumping louder with each step. They entered the small, sterile room where their dad lay. A cascade of beeping machines filled the air, and Sarah's breath hitched at the sight. Her father, the strong figure she had always leaned on, was now lying vulnerable and still. "Dad?" she whispered, her voice trembling as a wave of sadness crashed over her. She reached for his hand, fingers brushing against the cool skin. It felt like a jolt. Memories flooded her time spent fishing, him teaching her to ride a bike, his laughter filling their home. Her mom moved closer, squeezing her shoulder, the simple gesture igniting a shared understanding between them. They were both holding on to hope in a room where despair lurked in every corner. "Doctor said he'll be okay," her brother murmured, his own worry unmistakable. "They just want to keep him overnight for observation." Relief washed over Sarah, but it was quickly followed by a wave of guilt. What about everything else? What about Jake? The warm hum of his text still flickered in her mind like a beacon, urging her to find balance. But how could she focus on him now when her family needed her whole heart? In the hushed space, conversations shifted and murmurs ebbed as doctors came in and out, providing updates that were both hopeful and vague. Time stretched, and with every tick of the clock, Sarah felt like she was being pulled further from the joy she had recently begun to feel with Jake. As the hours passed, moments of half-hearted laughter broke out among family members, attempting to lighten the oppressive atmosphere. They reminisced about goofy family memories, how their dad once tried to bake a cake that turned into a gooey disaster. It brought smiles, but they were bittersweet, tainted by the worry hanging in the air. Eventually, Sarah excused herself and stepped out of the waiting room, needing space to breathe. She found a quiet corner of the hospital, pulling out her phone. For a moment, she just stared at the screen, her thumb hovering over Jake's message. She wanted to reach out, to tell him how much his support meant to her, but uncertainty gripped her heart. Maybe he doesn't want to be part of this. The voice echoed in her mind as if it were a clear warning. Just then, her phone buzzed again, another message from Jake lighting up the screen. I hope things are okay. Still thinking about you. Something shifted inside Sarah. It was a small glimmer of hope against the chaos taking hold of her life. Suddenly, she made her decision. She tapped out a reply, every word feeling like a weight lifted. Thank you for being here. I might need you soon. She stood there, phone in hand, feeling the tension begin to unravel slightly. Maybe that was the start she needed, a way to bridge what felt broken. Taking a deep breath, she returned to her family, finding strength in their murmured hopes and shared memories. But that little spark inside her remained lit, her heart tethered to Jake, feeling that perhaps it was possible to navigate the difficult waters ahead and still embrace the blossoming connection they were creating. Feeling a sense of steadiness, Sarah sat back down, a small resolve encasing her heart. She would be there for her family fully, but she also wouldn't abandon what had begun with Jake. As another doctor entered, the room stilled, and Sarah held on to the flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, everything could still turn out okay. In that moment, she realized the truth: navigating sorrow and happiness wasn't about choosing one over the other. But would she really be able to do it? How would her family adjust as she opened herself up to new love? The clock seemed to stretch endlessly in the hospital room. Each tick resonated with Sarah's own pulse, relentless and loud. She watched her father, the man who shifted from rock to shadow, and her heart bucked against the walls of her chest. How bizarre it felt to laugh and feel hope when they were standing on such fragile ground. Sarah. Her mother's voice pulled her from her thoughts again. Can you come here for a moment? Sarah moved to her mother's side, who looked even more fragile than before. The lines of worry hadn't just etched themselves on her face, they seemed to deepen with every passing moment. You're okay, right? She asked, forcing a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Of course, honey. I need a moment, her mother replied, glancing around as though searching for some silent answer amidst the droning machines. Sarah felt the tender weight of her mother's fear. It welled in her own chest, a mixture of parallel worries for her father's recovery and the uncertainty hovering around Jake. Would navigating both of these worlds tear her apart? Then her phone buzzed again, this time a notification from a social media app. Photos from friends flooded her screen, laughter splashed alongside bright smiles. The world outside seemed so normal, almost cruel in its simplicity. She clicked on one of the photos, her friend Liz grinning next to a new boyfriend. It felt like they were light years away from where she stood, grappling with the potential loss of her father. Excuse me, I'll be right back. She walked out again, into the corridor filled with stark fluorescent lights and hurried footsteps. She felt terrible for needing a moment, but it was suffocating in there. Finding a deserted waiting area, Sarah sank into a plush chair, her phone resting on her lap. She thought of Jake, of the way his laughter made the corners of her mouth twitch into a smile. The tension within her would be been so much easier to unveil to him. His presence felt like a soothing balm, a connection to the life that existed beyond hospital walls. The screen lit up with his name as another message came in. How's everything? She hesitated before responding, the words curling in her throat. How could she explain the turmoil of her heart in a few short texts? It's tough, she finally typed, but we're okay. Flipping the phone down, she closed her eyes, allowing herself a breath. Maybe she didn't have to carry all the burdens alone. If there was a lesson in this chaos, perhaps it was the courage to rely on those who cared about her. Could she embrace the warmth of burgeoning love right now, in the midst of heartache? Tingling anticipation cascaded through her when she felt her phone vibrate again. I'm here for you. Whenever you're ready. Those words melted a little of the tension inside her. She needed to share this part of her life with him, a truth beyond just bright smiles and casual dates. Her chronicle of worry, grief, and eventually hope needed a witness. Feeling lighter, she stood up, her resolve sharpening with purpose. She needed to head back inside, to be supportive. The waiting area felt vast yet confining. She wished she could take Jake's hand and share this moment with him. But do I even deserve to think of him now? Returning to her family, Sarah caught sight of her father's chest rising and falling, steady now, and the warmth of a cautious smile crept back onto her face. She would make this work. She could be there for her dad and still embrace the budding relationship with Jake. As she settled beside her mother, a wave of gratitude washed over her. Family was everything, even when the tide grew turbulent. But just as those thoughts nestled comfortably in her heart, the doctor entered the room with a serious expression that caused her pulse to quicken once more. What's next? Sarah found herself wondering, her heart clenching simultaneously with anxiety and hope as she faced yet another twist in her journey. Could she truly balance the brightness of new love with the shadows of uncertainty? The doctor's presence filled the room with a heavy silence. Sarah's stomach twisted as she tried to read the expression on his face. Had they made significant progress? Or was this a step back? Her mind raced, pulling her in every direction and landing on the worst possible outcomes. "Can we talk privately?" he said, glancing at Sarah's mother. Her heart sank deeper. "It's about your father's treatment plan. Is it bad? What's happening?" Sarah blurted out, unable to contain the panic brewing inside her. "Let's take this one step at a time," the doctor replied gently, nodding for Sarah's mother to follow him outside. Suddenly, Sarah felt like a balloon being let loose, floating away from the safety of solid ground. She bit back the urge to scream, feelings whirling like leaves caught in a gust. Alone now, Sarah's eyes darted back to her father. He looked peaceful, but she could tell he was still fighting. She wanted to touch his hand, to remind him he wasn't alone in this battle. Instead, she sat quietly, her thoughts spiraling into the unknown territories of what this news could mean for them. Minutes stretched. She glanced at the clock on the wall, a cruel reminder that time moved differently within these hospital walls. There was a soft knock on the door, and Jake poked his head inside. Relief washed over her. "Hey," he said softly, the knot of tension in her chest untwisting at his presence. "I was hoping to see you." "Not the best place, huh?" she replied with a weak smile, trying to mask the worry etched on her face. "No, but I'd rather be here with you than anywhere else." He stepped inside, his warmth enveloping her like a blanket. She felt a surge of gratitude for his support, grounding her before the storm hit. "How's your dad?" Jake asked, compassion clear in his eyes. "I don't know yet," she confessed, the tremor in her voice betraying her. "The doctor just stepped out with my mom. I'm terrified." Jake reached for her hand and squeezed it gently. "We'll get through this. You've got people who care about you." "I know, but the fear feels so overwhelming. I just want him to be okay." Her voice broke slightly, and she fought the tears threatening to spill over. "If you need to cry, do it," he urged. There was a raw honesty in his tone that caught her off guard. "You can lean on me. I want to be here for you through all of this." The sincerity of his words conjured a wave of emotion, and she let out a shaky breath. "Thank you for being that person, Jake. I don't want to lose sight of you while trying to keep my family together." "You won't lose me," he replied, leaning closer. "We'll figure it out together. Just take it one day at a time." Just as she felt some of the weight lift, her mother returned, her face paler than it had been. Sarah's heart sped up again, every heartbeat echoing the question hanging in the air. What had the doctor said? Her mother glanced between Sarah and Jake, apprehension in her eyes. "Yes." Then she paused, and Sarah felt her breath hitch, waiting for the news that would alter their course once again. "He suggested a new treatment option," her mother finally managed, taking a steadying breath. "But it's a tough road ahead." "What kind of treatment?" Sarah pressed, desperate for clarity. "It will involve several more months in the hospital," her mother said. "But he's hopeful. He thinks it could really help." A flicker of hope sparked inside Sarah, battling with the heaviness in her chest. Months? It felt like a lifetime. Yet, maybe that glimmer was enough. Maybe they could ride this current together, despite the tumultuous waters ahead. Jake squeezed her hand a little tighter, grounding her as her mother continued to explain. Sarah could feel the blend of fear and hope swirling in the room, and deep down, a thought echoed louder than the rest: could they navigate this storm and still find light at the end of the tunnel? As the conversation unfolded, she felt the unsettling reality settle beneath her skin, the possibility of weeks and months ahead, of love buried beneath layers of pain, and the challenge of facing it all. And as the new treatment was laid out before them, one question lingered as an uninvited guest in her mind: how do you keep your heart open when so much is at stake? The moment seemed fragile enough to shatter, and as she exchanged glances with Jake, she could only wonder if their relationship could survive the impending storm too. Sarah felt the weight of her mother's words pressing down on her like a mountain. Months of treatment, uncertainty, and hospital rooms. Her mind struggled to grasp it all. As her mother spoke, the flickering hope was quickly overridden by the reality of their situation. "I know it feels overwhelming," her mother said gently, watching the conflict play out on Sarah's face. "But this could be a turning point." Jake shifted closer, his presence a steadiness in the sea of chaos swirling around her. He sensed her struggle, the way her breath grew shallow, and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "You're not alone in this, Sarah," he murmured, his words wrapping around her like a lifeline. "Thanks for being here," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. She looked into his eyes, searching for reassurance. The warmth in his gaze steadied her, even when the trembling uncertainty within her threatened to spill over. As her mother laid out the details of the treatment, Sarah found her focus split between the news and Jake's comforting warmth. Listening became a challenge, a frantic dance of absorbing information, processing fear, and still trying to connect with Jake. "The treatment will involve new medication and possibly some trials," her mother continued. "It's not guaranteed, but the doctor believes it may improve his condition significantly." The mention of trials jolted Sarah. Would they really put her father through more? The memories of her father's struggles washed over her, and she felt the wave of despair pulling her under once more. "Why does it have to be so complicated?" she burst out, frustration escalating her voice. "Why can't it just be simple and easy?" "I know," her mother replied softly, a deep sadness revealing strings of her own exhaustion, "but sometimes simple isn't possible in life. What matters is that we give him the chance he deserves." "Every chance." Sarah echoed, grappling with the weight of that truth. She wanted to be strong, to be a beacon of hope, but it felt impossible sometimes. Then, amid the heaviness in the air, she caught Jake's hand in hers, sensing something akin to assurance in his grip. It was unlike anything she'd felt before, a connection that flickered with vitality, urging her not to let despair define their moments. "Let us take this one step at a time," he whispered, echoing his earlier words with a confidence that made her heart flutter. In his eyes, she saw the promise of support. The hope that flared between them felt tangible, brightening the dim atmosphere of the hospital room. Just then, the door swung open again. A nurse stepped in, her smile softening the tension that had settled like a thick fog. "Hi, folks. Just checking on Mr. Thompson. Is there anything you need?" Her presence served as a necessary distraction. A brief moment of humor surfaced when Jake quipped, "Coffee would be great if you're offering." The nurse laughed, the sound slicing through the gloom. Sarah tried to join in, forcing a grin. But as the laughter faded, the gravity of their situation returned. The new treatment could be the beginning of a long, hard journey. The thought alone threatened to engulf her. What if she began hesitantly, her voice barely cutting through the thick air? What if it doesn't work? The vulnerability in her question felt like an echo of her deepest fears. Jake's grip tightened around her hand, steady and reassuring. He looked directly into her eyes, a spark of determination lighting up his face. "Whatever happens, you still have your family and me. We'll face it together." Feeling the richness of their bond, Sarah realized this new challenge might also be an opportunity for growth, not just for her father, but for her family, and even for her relationship with Jake. But still, lingering doubts tugged at her heart. With uncertainty trailing behind them like shadows, Sarah pondered what lay ahead. Would they emerge stronger, or would they be swept under the tide of despair? Her heart raced as she fixed her gaze on Jake, wanting so desperately to believe there was light waiting for them. But deep within, a question loomed larger than ever before: would their connection survive the test of time and trial, or would this moment become a memory lost in the struggle? Time slid gently forward in the hospital room, and Sarah held tightly to Jake's hand, her emotions a swirling cacophony. The laughter and distractions faded into silence, leaving the raw reality of their shared fears hanging thick in the air. Glancing between her mother and the door through which her father had entered, Sarah could feel a brittle hope blossoming in her chest, aching against the dark edge of despair. "Remember, one step at a time," Jake murmured quietly, as if sensing her wrestling thoughts. She turned to him, finding comfort in his steady gaze. "I worry this might tear us apart, Jake. I'm trying to navigate so much right now." The vulnerability in her voice mingled with a desperation she hadn't anticipated. She needed him to understand. "Hey," he said, a soft determination nipped around the edges of his voice. "I'm not going anywhere. We'll pull together." Her gaze dropped to their hands, fingers intertwined as if that simple connection could anchor her against the looming storm. A moment passed, and with it, threads of understanding braided tighter between them. "Okay," she finally breathed, a small smile breaking through the anxiety. "Okay, let's focus on this us. Together." With every word, she felt her resolve solidify, a decision made not in haste, but with a cautious appreciation of their shared vulnerability. Just then, the doctor re-entered the room, his expression more animated than before. "Great news. Your father is stable and responsive. We're optimistic about the treatment options ahead, but it's important we discuss the plan in detail." As he began explaining, Sarah could feel her heart lift, fluttering with each piece of good news. Her father would fight. He would likely get through this, and though the journey was long, threads of hope intertwined with resolve began to wrap around her heart. Jake leaned closer, whispering, "Whatever the treatment plan involves, we'll be in it together. You've got this." The enormity of her situation felt manageable with him beside her, and she realized how grateful she was for his steady presence in this chaotic chapter of her life. The doctor concluded the discussion and stepped back, gauging her reaction. "Do you have any questions?" Sarah's mind raced yet again, but she shook her head slowly. "No, just thank you." As they left the hospital room and stepped into the cool air outside, a liberating breath surged through Sarah. The weight of fear still hovered, but alongside it was a joyous exhilaration blooming as she felt her heart unfurl. "Want to grab a bite?" "I think we could use some food after all this," Jake suggested. His easy smile was enchanting, and the idea of stepping out into the world felt like a fresh start, a pause before the next round of hurdles. "Yes. I'd love that," Sarah replied, rarer sunshine breaking through the clouds of doubt. As they made their way to the nearest diner, the familiar sights felt comforting. As they settled into a booth, cups of coffee steaming before them, Sarah and Jake shared stories, small anecdotes from their weeks. Laughter bubbled forth like effervescent soda, sweet notes buoying through the air. But in the quiet moments, as Jake listened intently, her heart flickered with realization. This was a partnership built on trust, honesty, and resilience. Each shared smile slowly peeled away the layers of hurt she had carried for too long. "Thank you, Jake," she said suddenly, her voice earnest. "For being here. For standing by my side." He reached across the table, his fingers brushing softly against hers. "Always. You've got a lot more people rooting for you than you realize. This journey, it's your dad's, your family's, but it's also ours. Together." Feeling the warmth of his words, she nodded slowly, letting the soothing tide of connection wash over her. The wounds of the past were still there, but nurturing this bond brought a compelling sense of possibility. In the glow of the diner lights, she didn't just feel strong, she felt empowered. As they shared stories, ideas, and laughter, she caught glimpses of the future chased away by shadows of doubt. It wouldn't be easy, but as they spoke about their dreams and ambitions, that flickering chance for a brighter tomorrow sparked into a deep-rooted flame. And so, amidst uncertainty, glimmers of light seeped into the dark corners of both her familial struggles and her budding relationship with Jake. She realized that love isn't just forged in laughter, it's built in resilience, too. As night fell and they prepared to leave, Sarah's heart swelled with gratitude. With their hands still intertwined, they walked side by side, a quiet understanding enveloping them. "Just remember," Jake said, glancing sideways, "we have so much ahead of us. And I want to see you rise." Resolute, Sarah nodded, feeling renewed courage surge through her veins. They would face the challenges that came, they would weave their struggles into a tapestry of love and success. This was just the beginning, and for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to embrace what lay ahead. Now is the time to support the channel that brought you this story. You need to subscribe immediately to not miss the next exclusive tales. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the stories alive. Comment your feelings about this ending, we want to hear from you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share and let the world know the power of our stories.